My name is Femi Olafie Amagbeni, and what it was like for me growing up in San Diego. So I was born and raised here, have not left my entire life. Um, I think as early as I can remember, I probably about like 5 to 7 years old. I remember like wanting to have like straight hair. All my favorite Disney princesses had like, the hair going down their back, all that stuff. I remember being in elementary school and one of my closest friends was this little like blonde girl. And I remember asking her like, how do you get your hair to go down your back? And she's like, I just stand in the shower and it just does that because she's 7, of course. So I that next Saturday, wash day, I stood in the shower for like 45 minutes clean, waiting for my hair to go down my back. And like realizing when it didn't, that I was like, okay, it's me against my hair now. Like my hair, I hate my hair. I think as I went into junior high and high school, so I went to Muirlands Middle School and I went to La Jolla High School. And those are both like super affluent. I mean, it's La Jolla, so it's a super affluent neighborhood in San Diego. And it went from just hating my hair to wanting to have lighter skin, have lighter like eyes, like all of that stuff. All of the media that I consumed was white centered. Like magazines, I love 17 magazine. It always had like a white model on it, or if I saw a black model, she was off to the side behind the blonde woman. Or not present at all. Like, and maybe if there was a black model, she wasn't as dark as I was. Um, and I think like all of that started to like internalize the message to me that like what my dark skin, my like kinky hair, my dark brown eyes was not beautiful. Because of the way that racism is set up, most of us don't have interaction with people that don't look like us. Like neighborhoods are segregated. So if there is a neighborhood where you grow up, it's like mostly white, you grow up around all white people, you never see someone else that looks different unless it's on TV, unless it's like in a magazine or whatever. And this is what you're repeatedly shown, that like black people are gangsters, that black people are dangerous. I read this article where it talked about how I think black characters curse like 80% more than like white and other characters on screen. And I'm like, okay, so what is all that doing to teach us like what black people are like? And if you don't have any black people around you that you're living life next to like counteract that, then that's what you're going to think. Um, I loved this also. I read this book called Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria by Beverly Daniel Tatum. And she gives the example of representation and how it works by she went into a kindergarten classroom and asked them if they knew like what a Native American person was, like what an Indian person was. And they all were like, yeah. And she was like, okay, like give me some examples of what an Indian person is like. They start doing like the normal racist shit, like, like hooting and hollering, dancing around a fire, like all that stuff. And then she asked like, how many of you know what a Native American is? Or like how many of you have met one? And they were like, no, like I don't know any. And she was like, so how do you know what they're like? And they were like, Peter Pan, you know. And so it's like that's the phenomenon that happens, like because of the way that racism is set up. We are separated from each other. We only see each other through media. So if we're like seeing these two-dimensional roles, like we're seeing like Hispanic people, Latin people be gardeners, and like we're seeing like Russian people, like they're still white passing, so I'm not really that sad for them. But still, like that's a thing where like a lot of Russian characters are like villains, or like like if we're seeing all of it, like Indian people owning shops, like convenience stores or like whatever, their accents being a punchline. If we're only seeing that and we don't get any real life experience, then that that fucks up how we see each other. um so that was my experience of myself. Like that's how like internalized racism happens, is I'm seeing myself be portrayed in this two-dimensional way. I'm not able to relate to any of the characters I see on screen that look like me. I'm like, I'm not so then it's also like a question, it becomes a question for myself of like, am I even black? Like if I don't talk like this, if I don't wear these clothes, if I'm not attracted to these men, like if I don't like this kind of music, am I still black? Like there was like a whole identity crisis that I went through because I talked a certain way. And then that also gets reinforced when people are like, why do you talk white? Why do you only hang around with these people? Like the closest I've ever gotten to being in a fight at school was like over this kind of thing, because like they kept calling me like Oreo, and I like was cool with it for a while, and then at one point I was like, yo, keep my name out of your mouth. Like, and like everyone was shook because I'm not a fighter. Like no thank you. But I was tired, and that's like what happens when you are not shown, when what you are, a Black woman in this example, or like whatever marginalized group, is not allowed to be shown to encapsulate the full spectrum of humanity. That's what happens.